Question 1. A project manager is overseeing a software development project. During the execution phase, a new government regulation is announced that significantly impacts the planned features of the software, requiring a major redesign. This situation is best categorized as which of the following? A. A product backlog refinement. B. An identified risk that has occurred. C. An external environmental factor. D. An organizational process asset. Answer: C. An external environmental factor. External environmental factors, EEFs, are conditions, not under the control of the project team, that influence, constrain, or direct the project. New government regulations are a classic example of an EEF because they originate outside the organization and can directly impact project objectives and execution. These factors often represent uncontrollable influences that a project manager must adapt to, such as market conditions, legal restrictions, or governmental standards, distinguishing them from internal organizational assets or project-specific risks. Remember, EEFs are always external to the project and often external to the organization itself, representing broader business or environmental conditions. Question 2. In an Agile project environment, which artifact is primarily used to track and communicate the work that remains to be done by the development team within a sprint? A. Product backlog. B. Sprint backlog. C. Burn down chart. D. Product increment. Answer: B. Sprint backlog. The sprint backlog is the set of product backlog items selected for the sprint, along with the plan for delivering the product increment and realizing the sprint goal. It represents the development team's understanding of what functionality will be included in the upcoming increment and the work needed to deliver it. While a burn-down chart visualizes remaining work, it's a tool, not the primary artifact defining the work itself, and the product backlog contains all known work for the product, not just the current sprint. Think of the sprint backlog as the development team's daily to-do list for the current sprint. Question 3. During which project management process group is the project charter formally authorized? A. Planning. B. Initiating. C. Executing. D. Closing. Answer: B. Initiating. The project charter is a crucial document that formally authorizes the existence of a project and provides the project manager with the authority to apply organizational resources to project activities. This formal authorization occurs within the initiating process group, which sets the foundation for the project by defining its purpose and overall scope. Without a formal charter, a project lacks official recognition and the necessary authority to proceed, so it is foundational to starting any new project. Always remember that the initiating processes are about defining and authorizing the project before detailed planning begins. Question 4. A project manager discovers that a key stakeholder, who has significant influence, is actively resisting project changes. Which strategy should the project manager prioritize to address this resistance and foster support? A. Inform the stakeholder that changes are mandatory and non-negotiable. B. Ignore the resistance, as the changes are already approved. C. Engage the stakeholder early and frequently, seeking their input and understanding their concerns. D. Transfer the stakeholder's responsibilities to another team member. Answer: C. Engage the stakeholder early and frequently, seeking their input and understanding their concerns. Engaging stakeholders early and frequently, especially those with high influence or resistance, is a fundamental strategy for managing stakeholder expectations and fostering support. This proactive approach allows the project manager to understand the stakeholders' concerns, address their potential impacts, and incorporate their feedback where appropriate, thereby transforming potential resistance into support. Ignoring or dictating to influential stakeholders can escalate issues and jeopardize project success, while transferring responsibilities without addressing the underlying resistance is not a sustainable solution. Building rapport and open communication is key to navigating stakeholder dynamics. Question 5. Which of the following is the primary output of the defined scope process in project management? A. Work breakdown structure, WBS. B. Project scope statement. C. Requirements documentation. D. Scope management plan. Answer: B. Project scope statement. The project scope statement is the primary output of the defined scope process, detailing the project scope, major deliverables, assumptions, and constraints. This document provides a common understanding of the project scope among all stakeholders and serves as a baseline for future project decisions. While requirements documentation is an input to this process and the work breakdown structure is an output of the subsequent create WBS process, the project scope statement specifically articulates what is included and excluded from the project. This document is essential for preventing scope creep by providing a clear boundary for the project work. Question 6. The Delivery Performance Domain in PMBOK 7th edition emphasizes the activities and functions associated with which primary aspect of project management. A. Setting up the project and its governance structure. B. Maintaining stakeholder engagement throughout the project lifecycle. C. Delivering scope and quality that meets project requirements and expectations. D. Adapting to changes and volatility in the project environment. Answer: C. Delivering scope and quality that meets project requirements and expectations. The delivery performance domain focuses on the activities and functions that ensure the project's scope and quality are aligned with the project requirements and expectations. It emphasizes meeting the project objectives by producing the planned deliverables in an acceptable manner. This domain is concerned with the actual work of creating the product, service, or result, including managing quality, scope, and the flow of value. In essence, it's about making sure the project actually produces what it set out to create, to the right standard. Question 7. A project team is conducting regular meetings to discuss progress, identify potential issues, and adapt plans based on new information. This practice aligns most closely with which Agile value? A. Individuals and interactions over processes and tools. B. Working software over comprehensive documentation. C. Customer collaboration over contract negotiation. D. Responding to change over following a plan. Answer: D. Responding to change over following a plan. The practice of regularly discussing progress, identifying issues, and adapting plans directly embodies the Agile value of responding to change over following a plan. Agile methodologies emphasize flexibility and adaptability, prioritizing the ability to adjust to new information and changing requirements rather than rigidly adhering to an initial, unchangeable plan. These frequent reviews and adjustments allow the team to stay responsive to evolving circumstances, ensuring the project remains aligned with current needs. This value highlights the importance of continuous feedback and iterative development in managing uncertainty. Question 8. What is the primary purpose of the project management plan? A. To document high-level project goals and objectives. B. To formally authorize the project and the project manager. C. To define how the project will be executed, monitored, controlled, and closed. D. To identify and categorize project stakeholders. Answer: C. To define how the project will be executed, monitored, controlled, and closed. The project management plan is the most important document in project management, serving as the comprehensive guide that details how the project will be planned, executed, monitored, controlled, and closed. It integrates and consolidates all subsidiary management plans and baselines, providing a single source of truth for managing the project. Unlike the project charter, which authorizes the project management plan provides the detailed roadmap for how to accomplish it. This plan is crucial for ensuring all project activities are aligned and managed effectively from start to finish. Question 9. Which tool or technique is most appropriate for graphically displaying the relationships between project activities, showing their sequence and dependencies? A. Control chart. B. Histogram. C. Network diagram. D. Pareto chart. Answer: C. Network diagram. A network diagram, specifically a project schedule network diagram, is the most appropriate tool for visually representing the logical relationships or dependencies among project activities. This diagram shows the sequence in which activities must be performed, illustrating predecessors and successors, which is crucial for identifying the critical path and understanding project timelines. Control charts, histograms, and Pareto charts are tools primarily used in quality management for analyzing data distributions or identifying root causes, not for sequencing project tasks. Understanding the flow of activities is fundamental to effective schedule management. Question 10. A project team has identified several potential risks during the planning phase. For a high-impact, high-probability risk, the team decides to outsource the risky component to a specialist vendor who has expertise in managing such risks. This risk response strategy is known as A. Mitigate. B. Accept. C. Transfer. D. Avoid. Answer: C. Transfer. Transferring a risk involves shifting the responsibility for managing a risk and its potential impact to a third party, often through insurance, warranties, or outsourcing. In this scenario, outsourcing the risky component to a specialist vendor means the project team is no longer solely responsible for managing that specific risk. The vendor takes on that accountability. Mitigating reduces the likelihood or impact, accepting acknowledges the risk without action, and avoiding eliminates the risk entirely. Transferring is about letting someone else deal with the consequences and management of a risk. Question 11. What is the primary purpose of a work breakdown structure, WBS? A. To identify project stakeholders and their influence. B. To document the sequence of project activities. C. To decompose the total scope of work into smaller, manageable components. D. To establish the project budget and financial controls. Answer: C. To decompose the total scope of work into smaller, manageable components. The primary purpose of a work breakdown structure, WBS, is to hierarchically decompose the total scope of work into smaller, more manageable components, making it easier to define, plan, and control the project. It provides a structured breakdown of what needs to be delivered, ensuring that all project work is accounted for and none is inadvertently missed. While the WBS forms the basis for activity sequencing and cost estimation, its core function is the systematic division of project deliverables into their constituent parts. Think of it as breaking a large, complex task into smaller, digestible chunks. Question 12. In the context of project communications, what is meant by push communication? A. Information sent to specific recipients who need to receive it. B. Information made available for recipients to access at their discretion. C. Information exchanged through informal conversations. D. Information broadcasted to a general audience. Answer: A. Information sent to specific recipients who need to receive it. Push communication involves sending information directly to specific recipients who require it, ensuring that they receive the message without having to actively seek it out. Examples include memos, emails, reports, or voicemails sent to a defined distribution list. In contrast, pull communication involves making information available for recipients to access at their own discretion, such as a company intranet or a shared document repository. Push communication is effective when critical information must be delivered directly to ensure it is received and reviewed by the intended audience. Question 13. Which project management approach emphasizes the iterative delivery of value, customer collaboration, and responding to change over following a rigid plan? A. Predictive, waterfall. B. Hybrid. C. Agile. D. Critical path method. Answer: C. Agile. Agile project management is characterized by its iterative and incremental approach, focusing on delivering value frequently, collaborating closely with customers, and being highly responsive to change. Unlike predictive or waterfall approaches that rely on a linear, detailed upfront plan, Agile methodologies embrace flexibility and adaptation throughout the project lifecycle. This allows teams to continuously incorporate feedback and adjust to evolving requirements, making it particularly suitable for projects with high uncertainty or rapidly changing environments. Agile prioritizes adaptability and constant value delivery. Question 14. A project manager is conducting a meeting with stakeholders to review deliverables and determine if they meet acceptance criteria. Which process is the project manager performing? A. Control quality. B. Validate scope. C. Perform integrated change control. D. Close project or phase. Answer: B. Validate scope. Validate scope is the process of formalizing acceptance of the completed project deliverables by obtaining stakeholder sign-off. This involves reviewing the deliverables with relevant stakeholders to ensure they meet the defined requirements and acceptance criteria. Control quality focuses on ensuring the correctness of deliverables internally through inspection and verification before they are presented for formal acceptance. Therefore, the act of reviewing deliverables with stakeholders for their formal acceptance is the hallmark of validate scope. Question 15. The project manager is reviewing the team's progress and comparing actual performance against the project baseline. This activity is a core part of which PMBOK's 7th performance domain. A. Planning performance domain. B. Project work performance domain. C. Measurement performance domain. D. Delivery performance domain. Answer: C. Measurement performance domain. The measurement performance domain focuses on evaluating the project's performance and progress. This includes activities such as collecting data, analyzing actual performance against baselines, and generating insights to support decision-making and continuous improvement. While the project work performance domain relates to the actual execution of work and the planning performance domain is about organizing and coordinating activities, the act of comparing actuals to baseline specifically falls under measurement, as it's about understanding how the project is performing against its targets. Effective measurement helps a project stay on track. Question 16. To ensure all project work is aligned with organizational goals and strategic objectives, the project manager should primarily refer to which document created during the initiation phase? A. Project management plan. B. Requirements documentation. C. Business case. D. Stakeholder register. Answer: C. Business case. The business case is a foundational document created before the project charter, during the initiation phase, that provides the necessary information from a business standpoint to determine if the project is worth the required investment. It justifies the project's existence by aligning it with organizational goals and strategic objectives, outlining benefits, costs, and risks. While the project management plan guides execution, the business case explains why the project is being undertaken and how it contributes to strategic aims. Always consider the business case as the ultimate justification for a project. Question 17. In a Scrum framework, who is primarily responsible for ensuring that the team understands and follows Scrum practices and rules? A. Product owner. B. Scrum master. C. Development team. D. Project manager. Answer: B. Scrum master. The Scrum master is responsible for promoting and supporting Scrum, acting as a servant leader to the Scrum team. Their primary role is to ensure that everyone understands Scrum theory, practices, rules, and values, and to coach the team in self-organization and cross-functionality. While the product owner manages the product backlog and the development team creates the increment, the Scrum Master facilitates the Scrum process itself and removes impediments. Think of the Scrum Master as the guardian of the Scrum framework. Question 18. A project manager is performing resource leveling on the project schedule. What is the primary objective of this technique? A. To identify the critical path of the project. B. To optimize the schedule by adding more resources to critical activities. C. To adjust the schedule based on resource availability and demand. D. To estimate the cost of resources for each activity. Answer: C. To adjust the schedule based on resource availability and demand. Resource leveling is a schedule compression technique used to optimize the allocation of resources by adjusting activity start and finish dates to balance resource demand with the available supply. Its primary objective is to smooth out resource utilization over the project's duration, preventing overallocation or underallocation of resources, even if it means extending the project duration. It ensures that resources are not overloaded at peak times and avoids resource conflicts, making the project schedule more realistic and achievable. This technique is about making the most efficient use of the resources you have. Question 19. A project has just completed. The project manager is now gathering all final project documents, obtaining formal acceptance of the final product, and updating organizational process assets. Which process group is the project manager currently working in? A. Monitoring and controlling. B. Executing. C. Planning. D. Closing. Answer: D. Closing. The closing process group involves formalizing the acceptance of the project, phase, or contract and bringing it to an orderly conclusion. Activities typically performed in this phase include obtaining final product acceptance, transferring deliverables, releasing team resources, archiving project documents, and conducting lessons learned. Monitoring and controlling involves tracking and reviewing performance throughout the project, while executing involves carrying out the work defined in the project management plan. Closing processes ensure that all loose ends are tied up and the project is formally concluded. Question 20. When performing a make-or-buy analysis, which factor is often the most significant consideration when deciding whether to produce a product or service in-house or procure it from an external source? A. The availability of internal staff for the work. B. The total cost of making versus buying. C. The lead time required for procurement. D. The potential for intellectual property creation. Answer: B. The total cost of making versus buying. The make-or-buy analysis primarily focuses on evaluating the total cost of producing a product or service internally versus procuring it from an external source. This analysis considers all relevant direct and indirect costs, including labor, materials, equipment, and administrative overhead, as well as the cost of managing the procurement process. While other factors like internal capabilities, lead time, and intellectual property are important, the financial comparison of total cost is typically the most significant driver in the make-or-buy decision. It's about optimizing project spending. Question 21. A project team is experiencing significant disagreements among members regarding technical approaches. As a project manager, which conflict resolution technique is generally considered the best for achieving long-term resolution and fostering collaboration? A. Forcing. B. Compromising. C. Collaborating/problem solving. D. Smoothing. Answer: C. Collaborating/problem solving. Collaborating, also known as problem solving, is generally considered the best conflict resolution technique for achieving long-term solutions and fostering true agreement and commitment among team members. This technique involves openly addressing the conflict, sharing perspectives, and working together to find a solution that satisfies all parties involved. While compromising involves finding a middle ground and smoothing emphasizes areas of agreement, only collaboration leads to a win-win outcome where the underlying issues are fully resolved and relationships are strengthened. Encourage your team to work through issues together for sustainable solutions. Question 22. Which document provides detailed descriptions of individual work packages and planning for each WBS component, typically including scope, deliverables, activities, and milestones? A. Project Scope Statement. B. Requirements Traceability Matrix. C. Work Breakdown Structure, WBS. D. WBS Dictionary. Answer: D. WBS Dictionary. The WBS Dictionary provides detailed information for each component in the Work Breakdown Structure, WBS, including a description of the work package, assigned organization, schedule milestones, associated activities, and quality requirements. It essentially elaborates on the WBS by defining each element, ensuring that all team members have a clear understanding of what needs to be delivered within each component. While the project scope statement defines the overall scope and the WBS is the hierarchical breakdown, the WBS dictionary provides the necessary granular detail for execution. Question 23. A project manager is using a control chart to monitor the consistency of a manufacturing process. What does a point falling outside the control limits on a control chart indicate? A. The process is stable and predictable. B. The process is within acceptable quality standards. C. The process is out of control and requires investigation. D. The process variations are due to common causes. Answer: C. The process is out of control and requires investigation. A control chart is a statistical process control tool used to determine if a process is stable and predictable, or if it is in control. When a data point falls outside the upper or lower control limits, it indicates that the process is out of statistical control, meaning the variation is likely due to special causes rather than common, random variations. This signals that the process needs immediate investigation and corrective action to identify and address the root cause of the unusual variation. If a process point is outside the limits, something specific has changed and needs attention. Question 24. A project manager is about to start a new project in a functional organization. In this type of organizational structure, how much authority does the project manager typically have? A. High to almost total authority. B. Moderate to high authority. C. Little to no authority. D. Full authority over functional managers. Answer: C. Little to no authority. In a functional organizational structure, power resides with the functional managers, and project managers typically have little to no authority. Project work is often managed within functional departments, and project managers may act more as coordinators or expediters without direct control over resources or budget. This structure contrasts with projectized organizations, where project managers have high authority, or matrix organizations, where authority varies from low to high depending on the type of matrix. Understanding the organizational structure is crucial for a project manager to navigate their authority and influence. Question 25. Which of the following best describes the core concept of a milestone in project management? A. A task with zero duration, representing a significant point or event in the project. B. The shortest possible time in which the project can be completed. C. A point in time where a project decision must be made. D. An activity that must be completed before another activity can begin. Answer: A. A task with zero duration, representing a significant point or event in the project. A milestone is a significant point or event in a project schedule, often representing the completion of a major deliverable, phase, or a critical decision point. It has a duration of zero because it represents a specific moment in time rather than a period of work. Milestones are crucial for tracking project progress, serving as checkpoints to validate that the project is on track and often used for reporting to stakeholders. Think of a milestone as a flag marking an important achievement or decision point on your project journey.